The Middle Ages are often painted in the imagination as an age of gallant knights, loyal queens, and chivalrous romances. Songs of troubadours echo through candlelit halls. Noble women smile from balconies as knights kneel in devotion, and stories of eternal love fill dusty manuscripts. But behind the beauty and poetry was a darker truth. Marriage was not about love. It was about politics, power, and bloodlines. Love, when it did appear, often slipped in through secret doors and whispered words. It was dangerous, scandalous, and sometimes deadly. In medieval Europe, kings and queens were bound by duty, not affection. They married not to find happiness, but to unite kingdoms, secure alliances, and strengthen dynasties. Love was seen as a weakness, a distraction, something that had no place in the politics of the throne. Yet love, desire, and passion are forces that cannot be erased from the human heart. And so, when they emerged in forbidden ways, they sparked scandals so shocking that chroniclers tried to erase them. But whispers survived, hidden in letters, songs, and rumors. One of the most infamous scandals belonged to Isabella of France, often called the She-Wolf of France. Married to King Edward II of England, she entered a union that was meant to seal peace between two powerful realms. But Edward's heart was elsewhere, not with Isabella, but with his male favorite, Piers Gaveston, and later Hugh Despenser. Isabella was humiliated, cast aside, and stripped of her influence as queen. But she was no passive victim. On a diplomatic trip to France, she refused to return to her husband. Instead, she found a lover in Roger Mortimer, a powerful English nobleman. Together, they conspired against Edward, raising an army, overthrowing the king, and seizing power. Their passion was not just scandal, it was treason. Eventually, Edward was deposed and likely murdered, leaving Isabella and Mortimer to rule in his place. But their love came at a price. Mortimer was eventually executed, and Isabella, though spared, lived her later years in quiet exile. Her scandal remains one of the darkest tales of passion and betrayal in England's history. But Isabella was not alone in scandal. Across the Channel in France, the court of Philip IV was rocked by the infamous Tour de Nesle affair. In 1314, rumors spread that the daughters-in-law of the king, Margaret, Blanche, and Joan, were engaged in affairs with knights at a Parisian tower known as the Tour de Nesle. When the truth came out, the scandal destroyed the royal family. Margaret and Blanche were found guilty and imprisoned, while Joan narrowly escaped punishment. This affair not only humiliated France's most powerful dynasty, but also contributed to the eventual fall of the Capetian line. Love here was not poetry, it was poison to dynasties. Then there was Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most remarkable women in medieval history. Married first to Louis VII of France, their union was cold and passionless. Eleanor, fiercely independent and politically astute, found no joy with Louis. Rumors swirled that she had engaged in affairs, even whispers of scandal during the Second Crusade with her uncle. Though historians debate their truth, what cannot be denied is that Eleanor sought freedom. She annulled her marriage and, in a move that shocked Europe, married Henry Plantagenet, who would soon become Henry II of England. Their union was fiery, passionate and tumultuous, filled with both love and betrayal. Eleanor later supported her sons in rebellion against Henry, a choice born out of both politics and personal bitterness. Her story shows how love and power intertwined in dangerous ways during the Middle Ages. But scandals were not limited to royalty. In the monasteries and convents of Europe, where vows of chastity and devotion to God ruled, desire still crept in. Monks and nuns were often caught in affairs, some resulting in pregnancies that had to be hidden. The Church tried desperately to control these scandals, but human nature could not be confined by stone walls and sacred vows. Some scandals even reached the papacy, with popes accused of fathering illegitimate children, a truth that shook the very foundation of the Church's authority. One of the strangest and most whispered tales comes from the courts of Italy. In 15th century Milan, Duke Galeazzo Maria Sforza was infamous for his cruel rule and scandalous affairs. He seduced noble women, commoners, and even young boys, flaunting his desires openly. His behavior scandalized not just the city, but all of Italy, leaving behind a legacy of both terror and infamy. His assassination in 1476 was not just a political act, it was a reaction to years of unchecked scandals that disgusted his people. These stories remind us that the Middle Ages were not simply an age of knights and chivalry. They were an age of contradictions, where the church preached purity, but many lived in secret sin, where rulers married for politics but risked everything for passion, where love could lift someone to power, but just as easily destroy them. The chroniclers of the time often tried to erase these scandals. Official histories were written to preserve the dignity of kings and queens, to present them as chosen by God, free of weakness and vice. But the whispers survived in the gossip of courtiers, the lyrics of poets, and the margins of manuscripts. And those whispers reveal a far more human Middle Ages, filled with love, lust, betrayal, and heartbreak. When we look back at these scandals, we are reminded of something eternal. No matter the century, no matter the throne, no matter the power of the church, or the weight of tradition, human hearts have always longed for love, even when it was forbidden. And when that longing defied politics, power, and law, it created stories so shocking they were nearly erased from history. Yet here they are, centuries later, still alive, still whispered, still reminding us that even in the darkest of ages, passion burned brightly.